Bull Market B, Stock Market Shannon on Black Friday.
From
We're,
home.
we're from home. We're back with our second installment of this Bull Market B platform. One of the topics, B, that we discussed back in August and that you've been moaning about for the last week is the fact that you did not buy some of your electric vehicle stocks that you talked about in August. And so I thought that's actually quite a good topic to discuss for, 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes, just to kind of give the little insight into the electric vehicle market and what these stocks have done actually in the last couple of months. Just quickly, what?
It's the last couple of weeks, really.
Oh, it's last
crazy.
Yeah. So we'll look at that a little bit. I thought I'd just give a couple broader statistics and then we'll let you go and talk about one of the stocks or several of them that you were looking at. The electric vehicle market globally is projected to reach about 26,951,318 units by 2030 from about 3.2 million units in 2019. That's a compounded annual growth of about 21%. So that's 21% per annum going forward to 2030. That's the outlook. The EV sales, electric vehicle sales in the US went up 80% from 2017 to 2018. Okay, admittedly, that's from a low point, but still an 80% increase. I mean, this market is growing and it's growing quickly. The Trump administration slowed things in 2019, not going to shock a lot of people there, because they phased out credits and they loosened fuel economy standards. Not a great thing, in my opinion. Nevertheless, General Motors actually announced, and this is where they're forward thinking, they know they've got to survive. They're going to invest $2 billion into six domestic assembly EV factories, including the new electric Hummer, which we know Arnold Schwarzenegger is a big fan of. So this is a big commitment by on the behalf of General Motors. And we also know that the Biden administration is going to put a lot of money behind that whole entire sector and more of a green economy, which other politicians have discussed. And they're planning to invest about $500 billion towards this goal, a portion of which, of course, will support electric vehicle production and, of course, charging infrastructure, which is critical to anybody out there that wants to buy an electric vehicle. So now that I've kind of just set the scene for this big growth that we see coming, tell us a little bit about what was the name of the company you mentioned, or maybe there was more than one, and what the performance has been.
But the main one I was talking about, and I was saying, remember we'd have our chats, and I'd be like, I'm looking at this NIO. It's a Chinese EV company. It's basically the Chinese version of Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. So they have these NIO cars out. Now, back when I was looking at them, back when a few months ago, August-ish, they were $14. And I was like thinking, should I go in? Should I,
Yeah.
And that was like gone crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think that was right before they split even. And Tesla, that is. And then now NIO is at 53. EVs have gone insane. So we've got, there's a couple of things I'm looking at. There's Li, that's another Chinese company. Okay.
How do you spell
that? LI, that's the symbol.
Okay.
And what they're a little bit special is, well, they are and they aren't. They're
good way, special in a weird way.
Well, in my view, because everybody's looking at all electric, everything's electric, you got to charge at the electric station. And remember the first electric vehicles, like kind of some of the prototypes came out, they're gas and electric?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, hybrids, yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. The hybrids, they come out, they start off with gas to get that torque, and then they start using electricity. These guys are using gas and electric as well, but not for the purposes of the hybrids. They have these little gas engines that is for the purpose of charging the battery. So you can go much longer distances. They have jumped 20% every week for the last 2 weeks. Like They were
Oh
at,
my gosh.
yesterday they dropped at 7% to 40.
They are they making the whole vehicle, or they're making just that little petrol gas part of the engine?
No, they're
They're
making the
making,
whole vehicle. They have the little vehicles here, and
no.
they're the long term, like not long distance, I guess,
Mhm.
EV vehicles.
Yeah.
The way I understand it, anyways. And so they're at 40. So they dropped. They were yesterday. They were at
Yeah.
44. Now they're at 40. But let's say 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, they're
But
25. You know, so
I
they're
know. I'm looking at the chart right now. So it's LI. When I I'll try and put some charts up on some of these stocks. But if anybody's watching on YouTube, they can kind of see some of these charts. And then for the podcast people listening, I'll try and do just a link to the Yahoo pages. Or disclaimer: everything we discussed today, these are things B is interested in, things that she may buy, she may not buy. And I'm kind of bringing in the context of just talking about the wider market and the opportunity in the sector. Everybody out there should really speak with their own financial advisor or get professional advice if they actually want to, invest in any of these companies. We just want to, kind of shine a light on some really big industries and just talk a little bit about who's doing well out there, whether we like them, we don't like them.
This is just what I like, not what I recommend.
Yeah, I pulled up 3 kind of fairly well-known ETFs within the smart mobility electric vehicle space in order to kind of also give people something to discuss in their household with their family or with their financial advisor. And I'll have a link to those, but just for the purpose of our discussion, so there's Drive, DRIV, and that's a global autonomous and electric vehicle ETF. And there's HAIL, HAIL, and that's a spider. Again, it's an ETF, and it's called Kensho Smart Mobility. And then there's iDrive, IDRIV, and that's iShares self-driving EV and tech ETF. And as you can imagine, the top holdings in each one of those is Tesla. Oh, actually, no, sorry. In Drive and in iDrive, the top position is Tesla. In HAIL, the top position is NIO. And the interesting thing about HAIL, that ETF, is that they have broad EV exposure in 15 different industry groups. So this is one where you get they're not just buying the biggest, dominant stocks in the space, but they're going really wide with it. Whereas the other two have both Drive and iDrive have Tesla as their number 1 position. Their second is Nvidia. Both of them have Nvidia as the second big position. Then both of them have Qualcomm as the third, Apple, and then Google. They have the identical first 5 positions.
Just EV focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And but nevertheless, I mean, it's just something to talk about. But because so many people already have, if you're already invested and you have a diversified portfolio, you're probably going to have Apple. Maybe, I don't know if you're going to have Tesla, but you're going to probably have Apple. You're going to have Google. You're going to have Microsoft. If you've got a tech fund, you're definitely going to have Nvidia or Qualcomm in there. So it's important, I think, when people are talking about diversifying, that you really, if you want to get into the electrical vehicle market or the smart mobility, that you do get a little bit broader with some of these things and widen out the scope of what your money's going into.
Yeah, but I also with EV, even though I'm right into EVs right now, it's like to me, it's a new sexy stock. You got to kind of be careful because I'm looking at these, and like I'm saying, they're jumping in the last 2 weeks, which tells me the whole industry, like almost all across the board, so which tells me there's a lot of hype involved.
Do you know why I think they jumped in the last 2 weeks?
Why?
Biden. The U.S. election. I think that that's an election trade happening right now. They're all meant, and that will settle down a little bit probably in the new year, because then you'll start fighting about how much green money is going to go. Then you'll have the House and the Senate to start debating that. So you'll have another opportunity to get in.
Good, but the big portion of these are Chinese stocks.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
which I love. I think from a diversification perspective, it's fantastic, because China does not have the, let's say, the pesky democratic issue of having to agree a budget between 2 different parties, right? So China's able to just plow ahead with whatever they want to do, and they are bloody well going to do it. So if they have the Americans now, or an American government that's supporting that as well, the entire industry gets lifted up together. So yeah.
Okay, but while I'm on this, there's a couple.
Yes.
While I'm on EVs, I'm just gonna shout out a Canadian EV, Solo.
Shout out. Oh yeah, shout out to Canadian one. Shout it out.
Canadian EV. Okay, it's called. Geez, it's some big name, but the symbol is SOLO, and they just basically shot up like about 400% in the last 3 weeks, maybe. They were at $2 like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
From yesterday, I think, and then they dropped down to 8, I think, right now.
Okay. Electromechanica Vehicles Corporation.
That's it. So it's, to me, kind of be careful with the price, because it's kind of shot up by a lot. So I would kind of wait for it to settle myself.
Yeah.
But I'm just showing out a Canadian company.
Yeah, it's just something that you're looking at that you like. Okay. We should look at, I would kind of look at if there's any institutional investors in there, who's following it with research. It's got a 1-year price target of about 7.47. So it's just blown past that one. Well, we can follow up on that. So we'll put it on our little watch list, and then people can kind of keep us honest. So we can go back and say, oh, here's the companies that we liked. How have they performed? How have they not performed? Are we in the right trend?
No, dude, there's something I'm really about. Here's the sexiest focal point of these EV stocks.
Oh, tell us.
EV stations. So I've got here that seems to be catching a lot of wind right now. One is Blink.
Okay.
Blink. Now, let's see. I wrote a few things about Blink. Let me just share it with you. So they have charging stations, except they are owner and operator at the same time. So they own these little stations, and then they operate it. So it's not like, some of these other companies like gas, right? Or you have, independently owned little stations. Yeah. These guys own and operate everything.
That's interesting.
A year ago, they were around $2. Today, yesterday, they were November 24th, which is 3 days ago, they were 33.
Yeah, and then they came down.
Yeah, they came down 10% yesterday. That's what I mean by you got to watch the volatility.
They're very volatile. The companies we're talking about right now are very volatile, and it depends on where you sit on that risk spectrum. So that's why I talk about the ETFs for those people who are like, oh, I just want to dabble a little bit. And then there might be some, more bolder people out there, or even some younger people who say, oh, I want to get a really, small cap growth stock. So depending on where you are on the spectrum, we're going to talk about a wide variety of types of stocks.
But these
proceed with caution.
Yeah. Now the other company, so there's Blink. They're I don't know, Florida or something like that. And then there is now this is a SPAC. Okay, it's called Switchback.
Okay.
Symbol is SBE. The company that they're SPACing, I guess, I don't know if that's the right term. It's called ChargePoint. Now,
ChargePoint. Now, ChargePoint I've heard of. ChargePoint. I've not heard of Switchback.
They're so dominant. They have 73% of the 73% of the market of these e-stations. They have they're in 7 European countries, and they want in the U.S. of course, 16 European companies I've written down, and they want to expand in Europe, which is gonna be, I think, a good place for them to go, really. So that's exciting, because they're a SPAC, and here's a little thing that you could probably understand more than me. They're a SPAC that's also a merger, so they're merging with ChargePoint, and then they're called Switchback. So I don't know which name they're going to take after. One of those two names you got to kind of watch for, because once they're done the merger, it's going to be one or the other, right?
Right. Okay. Well, I'll have a look at that. Right now, I see them on Yahoo Finance under SBE. They're trading. So I'll have a look at the news on that and see if I can add some color in the notes in the write up.
I'm really excited about too, because and yet again the volatility, they're up like 40% in the last week, or two, but their charging stations are 7 times more powerful than their competitors, which means
Oh,
they
okay.
charge like way faster. I think
And how long, do you know how long they've been around?
I think they have been around for quite a while.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I was just trying to get some financial data. I'm not seeing it here, but I'll have a little look, and we can also come back and, in the new year or in February, once the Biden administration is in, and you start to get a sense for how much money they're going to be able to actually, put towards some of these industries. That will be industry interesting.
Yes.
Have you come across in your research a Chinese company by the name of Candy with a K?
I do. I have them on the watch list for my EV
Mm-hmm.
watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, here we go. Now when I started looking at them, they were $7. Now they're $14.50. They make parts. They make
Yep.
parts. But that's another branch off the EVs that you can look at, because you got guys like
Yep.
Candy. You've got Nikola. Nikola is they're partnering with GM. So
Okay.
GM is making, I believe they're trying to come up with now, don't quote me on this. In my mind, I'm thinking that GM is trying to make a EV truck in competition towards EF-150.
Oh, okay. And then also Tesla's got the electric, but that's more a commercial truck, right? That's more commercial. The EF-150 is more of is definitely a consumer kind of truck, right? It's probably F-150. That's probably one of Ford's best sellers, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know there's another company called Lordstown?
Mm.
Their IPO came out in October,
Okay.
ago.
Yeah.
They make EV pickups.
Yeah, I think potentially that will be a big market, because I think people that drive pickups don't drive for long distances, right? I don't think. I think if you're going to go on a family drive somewhere for a weekend or a week, you're going to go for Thanksgiving, you're probably going to take more of a sedan car. So I think the pickup trucks could be potentially, I mean, I don't know, but potentially could be a big market, because they're not driving vast distances. I think they tend to drive possibly to work and back, and kind of, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and they take a lot of gas. Like I used to have
And they take a lot of gas. Yeah.
3/4 ton, right? And
so that's a real cost savings for people. I mean, it's not like what some people would say, the crunchy green people, right, driving their Priuses. But if you can say to somebody who's got a truck, I can save you, or you will save whatever we should look that up. I don't 30% from petrol. I'm not sure. I don't know what the net savings is, but we should.
Being somebody who used to have a lot of trucks, I would question the power, and how much, because being, with my 3/4 ton, I can put almost anything in the back and drive over any Canadian, weather terrain, and but
well, now you're just bragging.
I love my truck. but the e-truck, how can it do that, right? You can for like delivery, it might be great, because you got some boxes and most of it's empty with bubble wrap. But
yeah, imagine Amazon getting a fleet of electric delivery vehicles, right?
It's very interesting. Oh, here we go. This is the LI. Okay.
Oh, okay. LI. Okay.
Because they are coming out with their vehicle called Arrival. And
calling what? Called what?
Arrival. So that's the name of their car, I think.
Arrivable. Oh, you keep breaking up. So.
But they're buses and vans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And UPS has, I think, ordered 10,000 of them for 2023 delivery, e-vans.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a big market. I think that's actually a really impactful market, because if you look at the the supply chain of delivery of goods, that could be very positively impactful in many different ways.
Well, I think coming out next year with the e-bus. And then after that, they're coming out with the e-vans, and this is where UPS had ordered like a whole whack of them. So that's going to be interesting, because tour buses, they that's all they do is consume gas.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All they
And
do.
pollute. Yeah. And then you think about all the different cities in China, right? Which have, I mean, they transfer hundreds of millions of people on buses, right? So if you can, I'm sure China is looking into or supporting in some way the technology that can support the, people carrier kind of buses and getting people around in a cleaner way. So I mean, overall, there's the technology is there at its basis and it's getting better. B, the price points are coming down so that it's now not such a luxury thing to
Yeah.
buy. And the climate change issue is drastic and dire, and we need to figure it out. Nobody wants to live with polluted air around them anyway. I mean, who wants that?
I know, but it's all, see, there's so many companies coming out right now. Like, I've got a huge list of them, and the volatility scares me a bit. The one company though that is, GM. You got GM and Ford, right? So
Yep.
they're even Volkswagen. So
Yep.
and these guys are basically blue chip, right? So
Yep.
they're entering these same markets, right?
Yep.
Buffett just bought a bunch of GM stocks.
Yep.
So that's a pretty safe one for anybody who's a little bit less, risky.
Risk.
And
Yeah. So, and also, if I look at one of the top positions in the drive with those ETFs, you do get much broader coverage, very liquid stocks. That's the other problem with these smaller price stocks and their volatility is that the liquidity of the trading of the shares. If you don't have a high volume of shares traded every day, then you can get whipsawed by the price movement. So whereas the volatility of an ETF or even Tesla is still not dramatic as some of those small newer entrants into the.
That's a great point, because if I look at something, I just wrote down some notes on volume, just aside. Look at Solo, right? Remember, before 3 weeks ago, they were at $2, right? And volume was averaging around 1 million. Okay, last week when they jumped up to 10 and now $8, volume was 170. So if you get stuck buying it for $10 and you can't sell it,
and that's a very real risk with these micro caps, small cap stocks. So that's something to just put out there to anybody listening, that really you do have to do research. Really, you do need to do your research. You need to look at the volatility, and you need to talk to somebody professional.
You got to be prepared to hold on or lose it, right? Like, you got to go in with that notion going, okay, I can afford this loss or afford to just hold on to it and be it not liquid, before that. Right.
And probably just recognize that we do have, I think, an election premium trading right now. And, certain sectors have done really well this year because of the fact that the economies were really bifurcated over Corona. You had some, like all the money that Amazon has been making because people are stuck at home. So money's been shifted away from, let's say, going to the theater, going to the movie theater, going to plays, going to rock concerts, right? Couldn't spend your money on that. So things got shifted into things you can buy online. And at some point next year, I don't know where, we're going to probably see some balancing coming back into that. So people do have to be a little bit careful not to chase these sectors that have just risen dramatically with that very Corona lens on it.
But just kind of be aware that that's even there, like these sectors even out there to even look at, right? Like that's
I think it's a great sector, and I'm glad you highlighted it, because I thought, oh yeah, I really haven't gone and specifically looked at the whole EV genre. And I like ETFs. I like giving people the option for ETFs because you don't have to really think that hard about it. You can slice a little bit away in like the one, the Hale. I think it's quite interesting because that's really got stocks in there that NIO's the number one. There's Plug. Tesla's the third position. Then there's WKHS, BWA. I mean, there's companies I haven't heard of. So you've got really probably you're not going to find a lot of the stocks in your portfolio already. So, and I like that. I like to have non-correlated,
These ETFs are great because that's how you can enter into a market without having to know too much.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
But one
So,
thing, you know what? One thing I didn't say on the performance side of it is that, for instance, Drive is up 46% year to date. That ETF. Hail is up 75% year to date, and iDrive is up 44.76. So these everything has just gone up dramatically. And as Belinda pointed out, a lot of that has just happened in the last few weeks.
yeah.
So everybody enter, or kind of go into this space with caution, and just maybe let some of the froth out of the sector.
It looks like it's settling yesterday. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
the EV market has come down a bit.
I'm sure people took some quick profits, because I'm really confident that was a Biden win play, right? People know that the Democrats really want to put a lot of money into the new green economy. How much is the question? But there will be money that flows in that area. So let's see. So they have a bright future. We just say be careful with what price you go in on the stocks.
Yeah.
And then there's been actually the new IPO market, the direct listing market, and the SPAC market, which I think we're going to cover a little bit more in another episode. And I think I'm going to do a little educational video on those. I myself have to get familiarized, because this is really becoming a popular listing route for people, for companies. And so, but some big ones that have come out recently was Snowflake, JFrog, Unity Software. A direct listing was Palantir Technology and Asana. And then Open Door has announced they're going to do a SPAC. So there's a lot happening out there. The market's kind of active there. The new issue market.
So awesome. I love volatility.
You love your IPOs, don't you?
I love not just the IPOs. I just like volatility. Like sometimes
it's not boring, right?
Yeah, sometimes like back to GM. I owned GM, I don't know how many years ago, and it's there in an account, and it never moved. Like it was around $36 the whole time, and I just tweet out sleepy stock,
Yeah, sleepy stock.
Stocks in my sleepy stocks, right? Although now it's a good idea to buy now, because it's waking up.
Yeah, it's waking up. Okay, good. It's starting to wake up from a long hibernated sleep, I guess, huh? But this is the thing that I try and get people to think about. We've just come off of a very divisive U.S. election, kind of several months of this, and people really get entrenched in that. You've got to save our industries. We've got to save the jobs that are there, but not missing out on the fact that, look, we have to have jobs and qualified people and education programs for the next generation of jobs, because you cannot look back in the rear view mirror and spend your money there. Like, I mean, there was a famous quote by Henry Ford when people said, if you would have asked the customers what they wanted when you started building the car, he said they would have asked for more horses. I mean, they didn't have the car as a reference. They knew they wanted more of what they know. And we understand that with innovations, we're trying to do more with less, materials, natural resources, be cleaner, be more productive. So that's going to come whether you like it or not. So rather have the money go towards developing those future job growth, and then help to protect or help the people that are losing their jobs because they're going away, let's say in the coal industry or in fracking. I don't know,
They need that. Yeah, but people got to look, like you said, even if it's a factory, and if all those little guys storing these whatever into the, part, even if jobs are gone, you got to look past that. Okay, well, who's going to have the job? The guy who programs the robots, the guys who design. And I don't know. It's just you got to look ahead, I think.
The economy where you come from has been suffering, right, with low oil.
2014, yes. So the Calgary has the economy has just tanked, and it's never come back to where it was when it was thriving. But I think and a lot of people have left. But I think Calgary needs to come up with like a different industry. Start
the next generation of jobs.
Marketing itself as a different type of place, right? That's
our buzzer. We have to go now. Okay, Belinda, B, stock market be, or bull market be. It's been awesome as usual. And yeah, we'll follow up. We'll come up with another one quicker than we had a little bit of a gap here because you had a lot going on too. You were moving. All right. Good. See you soon. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.